All right, welcome to Equal Time Soccer. I'm Matt Pravratsky alongside Mark Pravratsky. We have two big time Gopher soccer players here to join us for the watch along. We're waiting for the game to start. Figured we'd jump in, get a head start with the interview portion. We got a handful of Gophers in this game, so we figured we'd have you two on to give some expertise. We have Elizabeth Overberg, bottom right. We have Jelena Zbilic, bottom left. How's it going, Yellen E?
Great.
Going great.
Thanks for having us.
Equal Time followers have been seeing you yell, particularly today and last night, because of your fame and stardom in the summer leagues. What have you been up to this summer? You're coming in, as a veteran leader, and obviously not every college player plays summer league stuff. What have you been up to?
Yeah, I went home to Iowa for the month of May to be with my family and go to a couple family reunions. And then I just got back up this past weekend. And since I'm a captain, I'm in charge of running our captain's practices throughout the week. So once more people start getting on campus, then we can run our own practices and just make sure everyone's on the same page.
And you already pivoted me right into it. I was going to say, you're coming in as a captain. What an official role and burden for you to carry, E. What, other than running captain's practices, what have you tried to build into your playing persona now that you're wearing the band? What have you been adding into your vibe now that you have to be a capital C captain?
I think this team's really special this year because of our bond and how close we all have been forced to be and we want to be. So I think that's something that's special, is that people aren't afraid to tell me things like, try to do this better, which I would have been so afraid to do when I was younger to a captain. I just love that we've created that culture of accountability for everybody. And it also gives me a lot of room because people respect me and everything. And I've been here for the 4 years that now I can kind of get on them without them feeling like it's a personal attack, really. So we've created a really good counterbalanced culture, I think.
What do you mean what do you mean forced to make the connection? You said forced, so I'm just curious. I caught that. I'm sorry.
We're just around each other so much.
Yeah.
So that's the forced part. And then we choose to spend all of our extra free time with each other still.
Yeah, well. Yeah.
That's why when athletes stop playing, there's such a dearth of the teammatesmanship, because you're at 150% of it, and that's why it feels so absent when you leave.
Yes.
And Yell, you've been around the college game forever. Both you and E have been through just a ton of different, D1 seasons, D1 rosters. You obviously started playing down at UIC, and now you're with your hometown U of M. For you, in situations like this where, E says there's a good mix of dynamics, there's obviously some young players who, like Caroline Birdsell, who was really hyped coming in, but tore her ACL in the last spring, and so couldn't play last fall. She theoretically is coming in healthy. It was a regular talking point during spring games that Kaya Harper has never had a spring, and now she had a spring, and Aaron mentioned that to me. But there's a handful of other young players, new players. What's the vibe been like for you in terms of tracking, the chemistry and all that kind of stuff?
It's been awesome. Just like E said, our chemistry off the field really translate on the field. And especially this past spring, we had a really great spring season, and we had a lot of team meetings about accountability and mental toughness and just being vulnerable with each other, and also talking about accountability, because it's one of those topics that's harder to discuss, but because our team is so close, it was pretty easy to get through those tough topics. But then also going on our abroad trip to Spain and Portugal just really helped us bond. I mean, you're away, forced to be in hotels for 10 days.
Forced to be in hotels in Spain and Portugal. The crime of being in a hotel in Spain and Portugal. Sorry.
I don't know. That got us all really close and really helped us towards April for the spring games. So.
Well, who were you rooming with? Was it 2 to a room situation, or
were you forced to room?
Yeah, who's this terrible tyrant you were forced to room with?
I was with Kaya for all time.
Okay. Well, Kaya. Listen, we know Kaya can hit some bangers. We've had her on the show, but listen, I'm sure Kaya does have specific rules for the room. I bet she does. I bet she does have specific rooms. I bet even Kaya would come on and say that she has specific rules for the room.
Yeah.
For sure.
Matching a stray.
But it was fun. I mean, Kaya and I have been friends since high school, and since I was on a team with her. So being able to reconnect that has been awesome.
Well, and I'm curious too, when you talk about the accountability stuff, and E, you can jump in on this too. Any team, there's a million ways like I could guess you're talking about accountability, just the fact that everyone investing the same amount of time, or people owning their own mistakes, or there's like a million layers to something like that. And you mentioned, it says a lot that you have that kind of honest conversation, because it can be uncomfortable. But what are not like naming like players or situations or whatever, but what types of dynamics, were the types of things you talked about? Was it like, commitment and effort? Was it things like, hey, when you mess up, owning it? Like what kind of stuff was, because I think, to be honest with you, this is something that when Gophers have had underwhelming seasons in the past, like under previous iterations and even before you guys, this is something that when I talk to players after the fact, they do talk about general stuff like this, like the idea of holding each other accountable sometimes makes you the bad guy. And then later players will realize, oh, I wish we had more people holding each other accountable. So like it is a very real thing when you name it, but I don't know that I've ever had players sort of bring it up on a show. So talk just a little bit about that, of like what it means to be honest like that, to bring it up, and then just sort of things you're trying to tackle.
I think one thing that really helped us was after practice in the spring, we would kind of partner up with someone and pick a different partner on the team and tell them one thing they did well at practice, one thing they can work on. And then when we opened up to that, like the first week, people really realized like, oh, I need to start paying attention to what other people are doing rather than your own game.
Yeah.
And I think that's what has really helped us grow, is now we're all paying attention to each other and not necessarily being nitpicky on the details, but just honing in on everyone and what they're doing and holding people accountable to what they can do better. But then like seeing all their excellence that they do have at practice and translating that to the games.
Yeah, totally. Well, and E, you're someone who came in and you've had to play multiple roles, and Yell, I'm saying this to E and you're like, hold my beer. I've had to play every single role. But E, you're someone who came in, had no guarantee of a role. A last minute injury is how you ended up seeing so much time your freshman year. Then you just ended up becoming, a backline player, becoming a center back. Now Gopher fans really only know you as a center back. But for someone like you that's been in multiple roles like that, how does that kind of accountability of like, if a player doesn't feel like they have a role that's big enough, or, players who have the same mindset that I'm sure you have had like in your career, how do you grapple with stuff like that of like, I know you feel like you need to be getting a bigger role, but have some awareness of maybe players are outplaying you, or all those dynamics that Yell talked about?
Yeah, I think having multiple roles just gives you some grounds for talking about certain things. And I think our teammates respect that. Like my freshman year, I started all the games, and sophomore year, we got some more grad transfers, and then I had to fight for my spot again. And so then I've been in both those situations. So when I have teammates on the bench who are really not happy with their role, like I can be like, I've been there too. It feels a certain way, and it feels like you're kind of undervalued, but we see you. And I've like, it just, and Yelena, you can attest to this too. It's just like when you've been there before, people believe you that like, okay, it gets better if I just work harder and just kind of stick to the plan. Like you just have to control what you can. And that's what the accountability thing that we've been talking about is our team's really good at being hard on ourselves.
Right.
And when you have your teammates there to not just say when you do bad things, but to be like, I know you can be this good, which is why I'm telling you we need to do this next time. And that helps you be like, okay, my teammates got my back. So
yeah. Well, and like you Yell when you're going through that, and like I was kind of joking even when I was talking to E, you're someone that has sort of never had a gigantic role. You've had to scrap for everything you've had. Even at UIC, you get moved around, you're playing outside back, you're playing, on the wing, even in the summers, like you're never someone in all the years I've covered you has ever been given like a nice, clean, comfortable situation on a team. Like you are just scrapping all the time and just always making an impact however you can. For you, are you someone that sort of senses out when other players are sort of feeling some of the things you've felt, and are you able to sort of hunt that out from people?
Yeah, I feel like we had a lot of freshmen this year. I think like 8. So a majority of our team was freshmen. And so being able to help them and own their roles of, hey, like a lot of people come in thinking they might be one position and end up transferring to a different position. And just going through that yourself. And I know E can talk about that too, that you just have to adjust. And trust your coaches and the coaching staff that they're putting you where they think you can fit, especially different styles of playing or playing against different teams. You might fit somewhere else. And so I think just helping guide them through that, because now we are older players, veteran players who have played multiple different positions, is really helpful to then help them. So then maybe when they're seniors and upperclassmen, they can help the freshmen coming in.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of players who, you have to get moved around if you want your best chance to see the field. I'm not exactly sure who is playing because we have not yet zoomed in. Let's pretend that Taylor Heimerl will be playing in this game for MTA, a towering, soon to be sophomore for the Gophers, who maybe is naturally an attacking player, but last year when she did see time, at times it was at outside back, that kind of thing. For folks who haven't been able to see Taylor before, either of you can take this, describe sort of what her game is or what she brings on the field and what we maybe would see today.
She can do anything really. Like she can be in the attacking box and then be the one that makes the diving save at the end because she's just so fit and so athletic. And she works so hard. So I think that's something about her play is that she kind of keeps it really simple, touch pass out of the back or in the attack. And sometimes she's a little selfless when she plays, and we just tell her, Taylor, if you take one touch, you can fly by anyone. So once you tell her, she'll be like, okay. And then the next play, she'll beat them.
Well, and Yell, let's have another player who frankly doesn't always get to play, I think maybe her prime position, who's on MTA, Paige Kalal, who's a young standout for the Gophers. I'm obsessed with Paige. Paige on any given team would be a true natural number 10. Your team happens to be just drunk on attacking central midfielders, and so she plays out wide plenty. Sometimes she plays in the middle, but not all the time, just because how do you possibly take Sophia Romine off the field? How do you take Bowman off the field? How do you fit all these attackers? But talk a little bit about Paige's game if maybe people didn't follow the Gophers last year, in case we get to see her star out today for MTA.
Yeah, I mean, I got to room with Paige when we both first came in the spring, and I've just got to see her grow so much, not only as a player, but a person. And I think as she's grown as a person, she's grown on the field, just being more confident, calling for the ball, demanding for it. Because we always tell her, Paige, when that ball's on your foot, it's not coming off. No one's stealing that ball from you. She has those killer passes to the wings, or just nice and easy, calm passes to control the midfield. She's a very dangerous attacker who also has a great shot. I love Paige, and just seeing her grow throughout the spring when we came in to then the fall to then this spring, she's just, I can't wait for the fall with her too, because she's just going to be unstoppable.
Well, and we're approaching the opening kick. We do have the game up now, but before we get there, Yell, you came in, you mentioned you room with Paige. Paige was an early enrollee. She was literally 17, rooming with you. What were some of the things, I'm sure you feel very young to Mark and I, but I'm sure to you, Paige seemed very young. What were some of the things that jumped out to you? Wow, this is a 17-year-old I'm rooming with.
Honestly, she's just really silly. It made it fun because she just has a great humor, and she really came out of her shell, with me when we were together and rooming together, and we just go on walks, we go get food, and then we started coaching together. So we got to spend a lot of time together, and I just got to know her as a person, not just as a teammate, and just kind of became a really good friend of mine through living with her. And now she's one of my better friends on the team, I would say. And it's awesome. Yeah, she's an awesome person.
Yeah, every time I talk to players, they're all like you guys are right now. They're all super low key and put together and completely composed, and no one is ever goofy at all. And then anytime I talk to players about other players, they'll be like, oh yeah, Bowman is so crazy on the bus and Paige is so silly on the whatever. And it's imagine the content we could get on the long bus ride to Wisconsin.
Yeah. You don't want that.
Well, we'll see if we're having some streaming troubles there. We also have a couple
Pause for a sec. Yeah, we'll see if it's
there. We go. We have a couple of soon to be Gophers on this team. Again, I'm not quite sure on the game day 18 or the starting 11. MTA doesn't always post about these games, so not quite sure. But Ashley Turk and Grace Espy are both Gopher commits for the fall. I don't know how much you all dig into like recruits games versus just seeing them on visits and maybe you meet them for a second. But anything either of you want to shout out about Ashley Turk or Grace Espy, both soon to be Gophers this fall?
I don't really know much, but I know that they're all on campus now, coming on campus in the next week. And I think that's what's going to be really helpful is when last year the freshmen came on campus and just getting them integrated with the team and just getting them super comfortable because, sometimes when you come in as a freshman, you're a little nervous, you're a little scared, but that first month or two that's like only with the team without the coaches is huge for their own development to then be confident and comfortable when we start training with the coaches. So I think that will be a good telling sign in this next month or two to help them.
Yeah. They both were, all conference, all state in track. Spoiler alert, soccer players are great at running. So that's fun and cool. But we'll have to see if they're actually goofy on the interview or they just save it for you guys on the bus. Mark, I don't know if you want to hop in and mention anything about the Sioux Falls posted their starting 11. I don't know if you want to run through that.
Yeah. Sioux Falls. I think they do seem to be in somewhat a consistent rhythm now with who they're picking. They have some returners for the last few years. They have people who've been with them for people like Taylor Thomas, people like Aaron Christensen who've been there a long time. Jordan Tenpass in the back. Haley Fisher used to be their keeper. She's now a keeper coach, and her sister is Campbell Fisher is their starting keeper. And we're off in Sioux Falls at Bob Young Field. But no, Sioux Falls has had a come up. They competed last year. They got close to being one of the teams. They were just a few points off in third of winning the WPSL Northern. And then this year it's been the same with MTA and Salvo and Sioux Falls being the teams early, right, with a couple games, but like looking solid, looking like the teams to beat for sure.
Yep, and we have a few St. Thomas players on here too. So at the second half, we're gonna have Molly Knobloch coming on, who's a great high energy central midfielder for the Toms. She's gonna come in and talk about some of the Toms too. So don't worry, St. Thomas folks. We'll be talking about soccer in the capital city pretty soon. For you two, I don't know how much summer soccer or other soccer you watch for a game like this when maybe you know some of the players, you don't know all of them. Maybe you haven't watched them a ton. Maybe you can start, E. What are some things you watch for early in a game like this to see, oh, here's a signal that maybe the quality of play will be X, or, oh, here's some players that maybe are going to impact the game Y? What are some things that you look for just as someone who might tune into a game like this?
I look first off to see what formations they're each starting out with. And I think a big sign is, we're taught this a lot, is just how much each team presses from the start. Like we really love going out and pressing hard, and you just know the intensity of the game right from the start. If one team is just high pressing the back line, trying to get them to make a mistake because everyone's nervous at the beginning. So I think that's how I can tell what type of game it is based on how bad each team on the defensive end, might just be because I'm a defender, but just how bad each team is trying to blow up the first tackle, win the first 50-50 ball to set the tone. And then who can really, after those first 5 minutes, be the first one to settle the ball and move it around like MTA is doing right now.
Yeah. And I think that's a good point of like how high teams play, because that's also such a college thing too, because if a team sits, immediately you're like, oh man, this game might be in mud, baby. Like we might be sitting in mud. And Yell, you maybe have played a lot more summer soccer than E, just several different teams, I think. But for you, like when you're looking at two teams like this, two teams like pretend there was an intra-league, and a chance there for MTA. I think that might have been Peltier going down. Again, a little bit too zoomed out. We'll see if we get close in. But now Sioux Falls with it. But for you, Yell, like if you were scouting these teams because you were going to play in like an intra-league game next week, what are some stuff you look for at least immediately, like at the top level?
I think the same as E said with the pressing, like especially just how the defense deals with the pressure, because that can allow for a lot of counter attacks to happen. But then also like if teams are playing more possession based or like boot ball type of thing, I think where their line of confrontation might be, where if it's lower, then they might play boot ball or maybe they won't press as much. So I think like recognizing if a team's trying to build out of the back and if we can capitalize on pressing them when they're trying to build out, or if they're just trying to launch balls over the back line and adjusting how the back line will drop and cover with that.
Mm-hmm. And we're seeing MTA with their free kick here. I think if I'm good enough at recognizing players from this far away, which I should be by now, I think we do have Paige Kalel playing in the 10. I'm waiting to confirm if I feel like we see towering Taylor Heimerl out there. We'll notice as soon as there's a long throw deep in the final third. So I think we will officially have some Gopher talent out there getting nuts, which is great.
You did have Salvo. I will say the Thunder played Salvo on Wednesday, and we weren't able to watch. They were having the lucky incident with their streaming technology, but Salvo took a 1-0 win against the Thunder. I know you guys have Gopher teammates playing on Salvo, right? That might be the most concentrated place. Talk about that, because people keep playing there even when they're past out of college. Like, they keep coming back. So I mean, there must be some cluster of the Gopher chemistry there at Salvo.
Yeah, there is. I mean, I think we have 3 on that team right now. We might have some freshmen when they get here play on that team. Like, I can always hop in like for a practice or 2 if not everyone's going. Like, so I think there's just a good Gopher connection, and it's just people on that team just want to get extra touches. They're having fun. And I know their practices, what I've heard, are super fun too for Salvo, is that they scrimmage and it's high intensity. So if you need more touches in the summer, like, why not go for an hour and a half scrimmage? That's 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Overberg, are you saying that you get to jump into games and never have shown up to practice? You've just heard about practice? Or
no, the opposite.
I can like the practice. There's always the rule of like the 5 amount of soccer players.
You can go get touches in training, is what you're
saying. What I'm trying to say. So if someone can't go that night, like, some of us could like jump in with a practice or something.
Mark's trying to get Minnesota hit with the NCAA, or no, I guess it would be Salvo. It wouldn't be the U. It'd be Salvo hit with the violation.
Follow the rules.
Don't worry. I think if we randomly were covering a game and Overberg showed up at center back, I think I'd be able to spot her. Hopefully.
I'll take off the headband, then you won't.
True. Yeah. Fool me. Oh, and yeah, when Mark mentioned the Gopher connection, part of how, like, that 5, so who cares if people care about this, but the rule is you can't have more than 5 players from any single D1 program on a summer league team. There's no cap for D2 players, and that's why Mankato United has, I think, 19 Mankato State players this summer, which is super fun to always watch them. But the other reason the Gopher presence is sort of overloaded on Salvo, like Mark mentioned, is because really, really old-time vets like Molly Fiedler and Emily Heslin, who are really kind of OG equal time guests, and
they're in their mid-20s.
They're so old. So I know they're still playing. I saw them at maybe the Gopher spring game up in Blaine or whenever I saw them, and they said, yeah, they're going. And I was like, yeah, you guys have just continued to ratchet back from central mid to holding mid to center back. Now you two are just like the old center back pair back there, which is super. And they enjoyed that rip. They enjoyed that. Mark, talk a little bit about the WPSL standings and where these teams sit, because I know it's really tight up top.
Yeah, it's tight. Like I said last year, the top teams, as there's been some intruders from time to time. Sometimes Mankato will be one of the teams that jumps into the top. But the Minnesota Thunder and Salvo consistently are at the top. Last year, it was those 3. Salvo, MTA, and the Thunder again are at the top, and Mankato's right behind them. Most of the teams have played 2 games. The Thunder have played 3. So that's kind of the slate of it. I mean, it's a type of league that the top tier stays pretty steady because it just happens to be the teams that are funneling those players already from, the academy rank. So you just always see the players return. There's someone on the Thunder, Matt. I mean, we saw this. I mean, that there's someone who they're in the Edina High School Hall of Fame because they're our peer, Caroline Bailey, but she's on the Thunder and she played for Kansas and was all Big 12. I hate to say it, back in 2002 to 5.
She's I don't know if she's suited up in a game. Maybe we need to ask. I'll like message Paige and ask if she's been out there. This is the all-time leading scorer, all-time points leader in University of Kansas history. This is a legend.
Ooh.
And Mark mentioned also in the Edina Athletics Hall of Fame.
She was a 4-time letter winner in hockey as well, by the way.
Wow.
Just
3 in soccer and 4 in hockey, which at Edina, there's a lot of people trying to play hockey.
she would cook us. It's
Yeah.
so for those who have been following, when I live tweeted the MTA at Mankato game, Hannah Cade got into the game. She was an Iowa State grad who's from Minnesota who played pro in Iceland multiple years. We've had her on before. So she would be like an experienced player, or like Emily Heslin or Molly Fiedler would be a very experienced player. And then Carolyn Bailey's coming in just being like, no way, baby.
Also, by the way, she's a doctor. She's or as the time when she was announced in the Edina Hall of Fame, she's an emergency room doctor.
Yeah,
wow.
She's like a little too impressive. I'm a little too impressed.
She would play at our MTA practices when I was like in high school, and she was a baller. Like she'd just come, show up when she'd want, and like her shots would be insane. Like you're not stopping it. Like
Caroline Bailey, you are going to be on Equal Time. I'm going to find a way to connect to you. I'm almost scared, frankly. Just a little intimidated.
Still cooking.
Sioux Falls has really had a few dangerous chances, a couple dangerous balls across the box. This is really interesting to watch. We're still in that first dangerous in the box there. Ooh, nice cut.
Oh.
Cut back. Ooh, that was close. Holy smokes. So that was number 17, Cadence Ramirez from down in Texas was the one doing that fancy footwork at first. I think maybe McKenna Lehman was on the run. I can't quite see who that outside runner was. But yeah, they've had some danger. And this is the part of the game, particularly in summer league, but also in college, where, you know, every team can be fit and work hard for that first 20 to 30 minutes, as folks are really tired of hearing me say, if you can get something in that first 20 to 30 minutes, that's a huge payoff, because everyone should be fit enough to sort of stop each other for that long. The game tends to sort of shift once those subs start coming in. So if someone gets on the board in the first 10 minutes, that's usually a crazy sign. We do have some really sort of fun random info about Sioux Falls players that made me want to ask you some random questions. 2 different players on Sioux Falls, they sort of had their players say, what are you interested in doing with your degree? What do you want to do like outside of soccer, blah, blah, blah. One of them said they were so specific. One of them specifically wants to open their own coffee shop, develop a line of coffee, and blah, blah, blah. And then a second person said they want to open their own like shake and tea shop and develop their whatever. So if you two had to choose one of those 2 things, what would you do? Or if you just had to open up your own shop, your own business, what would it be?
Ooh. For myself, I'm not a coffee drinker, so I wouldn't do the coffee, but I love ice cream. So I would make the best ice cream shop, you know, the one that just like everyone goes to in the summer.
Sure.
The end, and somehow make it a place you want to go in the winter too, like have some sort of draw, but just ice cream makes everything better. So that would be mine.
Yeah.
For all the settings for Lifetime or Hallmark Christmas movie, for sure. All those businesses are the beginning of that plot.
That's how you would meet your partner. E. You would run this shop. They would come in from the big city, and then that's how you meet. That's how it would work.
Come into my ice cream shop, and I give them a free cone. Yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah. What about you?
I would take a different approach and make like a soccer place that also kind of like a 9th Street coffee, but maybe not like a coffee place, more of like a restaurant, bar, and grill type thing.
Yeah.
I know like in Chicago, they have so many cool things like that. And I think it would be beneficial in Minnesota because we have to play inside like almost the whole year. Yep. So I think that would be cool to do some sort of like restaurant where like the parents can be while the kids are playing, or like adult leagues be there and something like that.
Yeah. For people who don't know, 9th Street is a cool place over in Minneapolis where they have like little indoor courts, they have coffee, they have spots to hang out, and so it's a great vibe. It's a good idea to have a place like that where you could I don't really want people kicking soccer balls at the bar I work at. We don't have the space for it. It terrifies me, even, yeah. So, but it would be very fun to be able to have like a combination of that. Yeah, for sure.
Sioux Falls continuing to pressure. Haley Christensen was getting downfield the possession before. That was a nice cross, just not quite able to get the body behind it. Yell mentioning all the cool spots in Chicago made me think of, I think maybe the first time I did a show with you, Yell, or the first time I was
they're
in the box.
Ooh,
That's a good chance. Man, Sioux Falls is on the front foot.
they are.
Like, they are pushing.
Going after it. They're wearing their Pride jerseys.
Oh yeah, Pride
I
Night.
love it.
Oh, those are phenomenal.
They went full out. I appreciate it. We have these because I just like it because people make Pride jerseys and they just will make the numbers rainbow or they'll do whatever.
Yeah.
They're like, no, we're going to fully like splotch the whole thing.
Yeah.
And like there's a patch on the back that is the shape of the city of Sioux Falls. So they had some Easter egg with that. I have no idea which one it is. But yeah, I don't know if it's the green. Might be the green. Yeah, who cares? But it's something.
Eric Christensen, all the Sioux Falls, like a third of this team is literally from Sioux Falls. All the parents, some mom tell me which color it is.
Oh yeah, by the way, for people who are watching this, we're trying to do better, especially doing the watch alongs. If you do comment, I think especially on Facebook, I don't know, we are unsure where the comments come through. We have too many, maybe on YouTube as well. Yep. We'll do our best to check. But if you do send comments, I mean, Joel Wynn has said, let's go Yell. And then he said, McKenna Lehman. So guess what? Joel Wynn, Mariah Wynn's dad from Aurora 1.
Shouting it out. And shouting out another Tommy, shouting out McKenna Lehman. I love it. But yeah, Yell mentioning Chicago made me think, I think like the first time I was researching you for whatever reason, like before a show or whatever, like your direct quote on the UIC website was like you chose UIC because you specifically wanted to go to a college like in a major city. And it only stuck out to me so much because no player has ever said that to me, which I think is rad, but like no player had ever said it. Like women's soccer can be so suburban, like aggressively suburban. Mm-hmm. And you saying you want, and like the U is in a major city too. So like obviously U of M players are coming to like an urban environment, but it was the only time like that was the quote in like the player bio. And I remember the first time I met you in person, I was like, that's so awesome that you said that. Like, I just thought it was so rad.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like I tore my ACL in high school, so it kind of stopped my recruiting process. So when I kind of went back through that recruiting process, it was, I kind of honed in on what I really wanted. And I just thought like growing up in a city, like becoming your own person in college was what I wanted to do. And I really loved it. Like I loved the city of Chicago, and now Minneapolis, it's awesome as well. Like I just like being in a city. It's a great place to become like a young woman. So
that's so cool. I love that. And honestly, on the starting a business thing, I already had an idea in my back pocket for you, which is we're going to get you into like actually working political strategy and political consulting. I've been trying to drag her into local politics this whole time.
Why not? Honestly, I'm down for it.
It would be so rewarding. It can be.
You're talking to two people. One of them is still in politics, and one of them dropped out of working politics. Don't let Mark burn you out of politics.
I won't. I'm not burned yet. So
no, hey, that only happened because I enjoyed my time making a difference. That's fine.
It's just, well, speaking of like players' bios, it was just all of the Gopher players and all of these other college athletes we cover are always like business majors, pre-med, like, you know, everyone's like a physician. See, and there's Paige Kalel there. We saw it for a second. And doing these like, you know, hard sciences or business or whatever. So anytime a player has anything vaguely related to like mission-driven stuff or political stuff or whatever, I immediately am like, oh, what do you want to work in? I'll totally help you. Oh, it'd be so cool. Just because I can finally nerd out on politics with somebody. So E is one of those players who's had to have my weird political obsession vaguely in her sphere.
Totally love it. It's what I signed up for. It's my major.
There we go. Paige Call had a nice touch. I believe that's Sofia Caballero who just sent it out wide for MTA. Really, really nice central midfielder for St. Thomas. Might not have been her. It's hard to tell from the distance. Apologies if I'm missing somebody.
Yeah, I'll let folks know. I'm trying to peek in on, there's other WPSL games going on today. So at 6, Dakota Fusion is playing St. Croix Legacy 2 at 6. I haven't been able to find a stream for that. I'm looking. And then also at 7, Salvo plays Mankato United, just like up up the highway from us, up at Northwestern College. And Joy Athletic hosts Rochester. So look, we'll see what we can get for you. But yeah, Sunday there's a few more games too. They tend to cluster, so we're doing our best to get the highlights we can.
Well, and that was another thing I was going to mention about the format for the WPSL, at least in the Northern Conference, which is sort of like Minnesota plus border cities, so plus Dakota Fusion and plus Sioux Falls. The way to think of it is the single table, but only through one game through each team. So it's a big enough slate that you only play everyone once. And so every game really matters. You don't get a second chance with this matchup. So, you know, when MTA plays Sioux Falls in this game, they have to play them on the road. They don't get them at home. And so they have to try and go get this result. So similar to kind of conference play in college, where like some years it's at home, some years it's on the road, you just deal. and that's your life.
Yeah.
Love it.
Well, Elizabeth Overberg, Jelena Zbilic, two big-time, equal-time favorites. Gophers, you can follow them. Yell, you can follow her with Aurora this summer. Had her, you know, game-winning goal. No big deal. Sports Center top 10. Like, no big deal. And Elizabeth Overberg, incoming Gopher captain, now so solidified in cement at center back. Not on her feet, just in the lineup in cement. So permanent. Okay. So 2 Gophers joining us for the watch along. Thank you so much, you two, for joining us.
Thanks for having us. We loved it.
Yeah, thank you for having us. It was awesome.
Later, guys.
See you guys.
See ya.
I was gonna say I didn't want to ask Yell if that was a shot or a cross, because her teammates must be asking her that, because it was amazing.
Well, all of her teammates were willing to say they knew it was a cross, like, and Colette literally called it in post game. So
okay,
I think as long as it goes in, you're sort of like, who cares what it was?
Yeah, that's great. No, I mean, it was amazing. I love it. Yeah. I mean, but yeah.
We mentioned Joey Wynn in the comments earlier, shouting out Yell and McKenna Lehman. We got Riley Kurtenbach, who I believe is the individual I specifically sent an equal time jersey to out in Sioux Falls. Says they are there repping the equal time jersey. So shout out to Riley. That's good. I had mine on my wall, but I must have actually worn it. So now where is it? Yeah.
Still no goals. It's been, the game from the jump was open. Like, oh wow, yeah, Thunder into the 18. Both teams have had moments. Sioux Falls have had more, or at least like a bit more of aggression in the opponent's third. But yeah, you wouldn't expect anything less. I wonder. I do actually. I kind of want to turn the sound on just to see what it.
Tonight. Peltz here now, trying to make her uncomfortable.
Just so you can take it.
Former high school All-American sends this one.
Yeah, there's Paige Peltier.
It was out. Yeah. Yeah. Mo Malone.
So we'll wait. We'll be able to use that though if we want it for the goals. The moment of goals. Yeah.
And we, Mark, I think you ran through part of the Sioux Falls starting lineup. I'll name just a few other names here for equal time followers who may be tracking some of these players. On MTA, it's sort of a who's who of Mark's, Minnesotans playing D1 across the country list. We have Paige Peltier, who we mentioned, played at Notre Dame and is now going to Boston College for her final year. Grace Polidal, who's out at Army. I know Mark eventually wants to get her on there because he has personal experience with the Army, the Academy's admission process.
Someone used to entrust me to guide. Look, and I'm proud of it. I think I did a good job. I used to help someone help select like the local kids who went to the academies, and so I got to visit the Naval Academy, and so we do have Minnesotans at those teams, and it would be fascinating to learn. It is way harder than being in an Ivy League. It is crazy. And so to be an athlete on top, they value athletics. And so that's something they center, but still, like, you all have to get an engineering degree. Whatever you get, if you can get an English degree at an academy, but you are also getting the equivalent of a high level engineering, and you're like, okay, yeah. So
wow, Sioux Falls is really doing well in the attack. They immediately got on the counter. Nice job by the Thunder keeper to go grab that one. So yeah, just to burn through some more of the sort of, I won't name every player because it's just too hard. But I mentioned Pull it all from Army, Maddie Poor, Wisconsin, Rylan Rintoul at Kansas State, who had an injury last year but is back. There was a Rintoul Bowl between she and her sister Cameron Rintoul the other day, which is great. We got Olivia Rowe from St. Thomas, and we'll talk about her in the second half once Molly is on.
Ooh, Sioux Falls is getting through.
I believe that's Lehman on the left.
Ooh,
Chance! Ooh, side net.
Probably had it covered in the back. That was good though.
Yep. Nice job by Lehman to at least shoot her shot. So Olivia Rowe, a keeper for St. Thomas. Chloe Sandness, who plays at Manitoba. Only mentioning Manitoba too because we have a kicker from Minnesota who play,
Manitoba.
Oh God, I'm mixing it up. So Morgan Turner's younger sister, and I'm gonna look her up.
Yeah, she kicked at Manitoba.
And which is just Maya Turner is the first woman to play and score in like college athletics in Canada. And let me tell you, it was not like a random spot game. She like is their kicker, which is insane.
Yeah.
And her team reps, we had her on for a show. Her team reps her so hard. But anyway, Chloe Sandness plays soccer up there. And I know their coaching staff comes and hunts Minnesotans a decent amount. I've seen them at scrimmages.
Clearly. Yeah.
Ashley Turk, I mentioned, going to Minnesota. Izzy Engel going to Notre Dame is not at this game, I don't think. She might be, but she just got back from the U.S. U19s.
Right.
Grace Espy going to Minnesota, we mentioned. Allison Flies out at Utah Tech. There's actually some fun Minnesota connections there. Molly Rouse, Jenny Clark used to coach out there. Another shout out for McKenna Lehman in the comments. Wow, McKenna, you are popular, baby. I love it. Free kick here for the Thunder into the box. Really nice service. Ooh. Wow. Some danger. Oh, and now they have a corner, I believe. So we'll stay on the game. Kaya Gilliand at Wisconsin, Taylor Hammer at Minnesota, Mackenzie Jacobson at Wisconsin, Paige Kalal at Minnesota, Caitlin McBean, who's obviously been on Equal Time before. Mark had her on. She's at Penn State.
Yeah.
Dara Adringa at Wisconsin, a mainstay there. Good ball into the box by Kalal.
Oh my God.
Wow. I think Campbell got a hand on it, then it bounced out, then it hit the post, then it went over the post.
Yeah, I think she didn't make great contact, but it bounced fortunately. Wow. Very close.
Serious Equal Time followers will know I am obsessed with Paige Kalal getting to take set pieces like that. I think her service is incredibly consistent. I would love if she takes the gopher corners. Love to see that good service from her. So
that was Paige Peltier on the shot. I'm not sure, but it looked like it. Yeah.
Yep, I believe it was. So I mentioned Caitlin McBean, Dara Adringa, who was just a mainstay for Wisconsin. And by the way, if folks follow the Badgers, Jaskinek just signed out in Spokane, where Jenny Vetter just signed as a Minnesotan. So Spokane and the new USL Super League, the Women's Division I Pro League. So folks will see.
Zephyrs. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah,
the Zephyr. Spokane Zephyr, not Zephyrs.
Man, Sioux Falls is moving and passing so nicely. I mean, they are just like everyone is working off the ball, just creating options for each other. Sorry, I'll just burn through some more. So we mentioned Caroline Bailey, who I have to get on the show. Grace Bartham, who's playing at Omaha, a Summit League mainstay that we constantly see in our coverage. Olivia Bowl at UNI, Northern Iowa, which we constantly see because they play St. Thomas regularly. Sophia Caballero, who's one of my favorite central midfielders, plays for St. Thomas. She's on this squad. Hannah Cade, we mentioned. And then Ashlyn DeRozier is going to Milwaukee this fall. And so she will actually face off against the Gophers in non-conference play. So that'll be fun to see her. Otherwise, the players I didn't mention, Vesna Dennison, Jamie Kirklift, Madigan Vijavrong,
reading these live, baby. He's right. Can you tell?
Holy Angels high school player. And then Vivian Rosas Collins this is fun, played at Pomona Pitzer, which we know of because that's where Taylor Kane played originally, right? And then
it's like a fancy D3 school
in California.
SoCal,
and Taylor Kane, who plays for Aurora, is now playing for Iowa, so transferred from Pomona Pitzer to a Big Ten school. So that's cool.
Yeah. To give people a sense too, just for the form of the squads coming in, like the Thunder won at Mankato 3-0 last Friday. Before that, they had played Joy and actually won just 2-0 against Joy, which no shade to Joy, but like you would expect sometimes Salvo and Thunder throw up big scores on teams that are lower in the table.
Yep.
But yeah, Sioux Falls is coming on a good run. They had a 7-0 game against Rochester United where we had all the goals. It was pretty, comprehensive and overwhelming for their offensive output. And then they beat Joy on Sunday 3-1. To be honest, I mean, yeah, it sounds weird to shout out Joy, and Joy also lost 5-1 to Salvo, but those are not that bad of losses. I mean, yeah, Joy is always competitive, even though they're a club that's not built on building some big academy structure and getting scholarships. They're built on community access to the game. So the fact that they have a team that can get out and compete in WPSL is pretty cool. It's what makes this level pretty cool, because they would never be a team that would become, some professional squad. So nice to see the opportunity for people who aren't just in the big pipelines to play against these teams too.
Yeah, we talk all the time that summer leagues exist for tons of different reasons. Some of them want to be a place to launch players into the pros. Some of them just want a place for their existing youth players to play when they turn 19 and can't play on the teams anymore.
Yeah.
Some of them want to focus more on that community access. I mean, not all of them care about having coverage. Not all of them care about having streams. And so that's fine. They're there for their reasons. So if we kick here,
delivery, yeah.
Call sends it in. Really nice service. Campbell there to take it away. Again, Paige Peltier was the target there and almost got to it, but nice service from Paige. Still 0-0. I don't know if I would have guessed that at minute 30, but a lot of soccer to play, obviously.
I guess, seeing how Salvo and the Thunder had a 1-0 game, I guess, it's like you could either, it'll be tough. So yeah, it is interesting to see like whether it would be, we got Sioux Falls coming in through now. Oh, they're in the box.
Nice ball.
They're in the good spot. Tough to get a really hard shot on a ball bouncing like that, though. Yeah. But,
honestly, I don't want to overstate it. This might be one of like the highest quality summer games we've watched this year. I mean, this is considering both teams are creating chances, the passing, the movement. This is just high quality soccer. I mean, Mark and I watch a tremendous amount of summer in college. Maybe me more in college, Mark more in summer. This is a great game. This is awesome.
Good setting too. Shout out to Sioux Falls. They do a really good job producing it. Like that, we're getting the angles. We're getting, you can get replays. You can get, it makes it easier to watch. So shout out to them. Obviously, Bob Youngfield, whoever you are who donated the money to get the stadium built, it helped.
Good for you. It's and Mark and I have been to this stadium. It's a really nice, you're only seeing the opposing fan stands over there. On the broadcast side, it's like a 5,000 seat, 2-level stadium where there's like one row of suites and then the press box above.
Then you can go under the stands, which is kind of cool. Rochester also has this where you like the main grandstand, the concessions are under it. And so it is nice in terms of being able to find some protected space or
Couple subs for the Thunder. Again, we don't have a public roster for them, so I can't even perceive what the numbers are. If we get any zoomed in angles, I will be able to notice most of the players. But couple subs again for folks who follow multiple summer leagues. The WPSL. Oh, nice chance for Sioux Falls.
Ooh.
For those who follow multiple summer leagues, the rules are somewhat different. The WPSL allows re-entry for subbing. So similar to college is like a rough way to think of it. All the subbing rules in all these leagues, make sense for their own reasons. I don't think any of them are like better or worse, but in the WPSL, re-entry is possible. So when you see a player come off, they can come back on again, similar to college, which is where most of these players are coming from.
Yeah. I kind of like it in the condensed summer schedule, especially because most teams don't have the ability to travel so deep. It's like, I don't mind it in terms of like the purity of the game. It's nice to play the 90 and I like the 5 subs in the pro level, but I think it actually really fits. It fits to the thing that players and people are trying to get out of it. I love, for people who don't know too, anyone watching this probably does, but I think we always have some people who cross over from our different areas of coverage. The WPSL has some of the greatest taglines in soccer for their league, because they get to say, one, like, we're the longest running league in the US women's league. Like, that's solid. I'd never seen this. And it's like, I don't even know how to check it because it's so hard to check in other countries. World's largest amateur women's league. WPSL.
I mean, it has to be right.
It seems so, right. But claim it. I love it. I mean, but So yeah,
I love
especially Minnesota, everything else we're covering where it's like, Aurora and the Loons have come in from Rochester in the last couple of years. UPSL is a very new thing and it's doubling and changing.
Yeah.
WPSL has been very consistent for us as a presence.
Yep.
And the same 10 teams back this year from last year. Which says a lot because it's very exciting to see growth of teams, but also like obviously you end up losing teams too, and so it's been a consistent presence for us. So it's a cool thing that these teams, with their different goals, still stay together and keep it going for the community here.
Yeah, there's been growth and change in what teams exist in Minnesota in my time covering women's soccer. If my first team I covered was the Gophers, the second team I covered, honestly, was the teams in the Summer League in the WPSL. And so they have been a consistent presence. For those who watched our watch along 2 days ago now, I lose track of games. Jade Smith, who's an assistant coach up at St. Cloud State, mentioned that when she played in the WPSL, there's been times where when the pro league drops out, WPSL Elite was where every single pro player played.
They filled that gap. Like the most recent time, NWSL fell out. Or the league previous,
They have been a place where women's soccer has existed, and you just have to shout that out because in our lifetimes, it has been the time when it's been growing, and so love to see a league like that that's always providing opportunity. And we mentioned different teams set up differently, but that just means players can find what they want to choose. And that's great.
There's still teams in the league, especially in the Northwest, like with the Thorns and Seattle Reign, their reserve squads from NWSL play in the league. And then there's other places where, they have other type of presence. So you have to find those connections, and it's tough to have a presence nationally enough where you can have the regionality to make it beneficial. Oh, here in Sioux Falls City coming in. Ooh, that's, I don't know. Yeah, it looks like something.
That was tough. So Lehman was getting downhill. She got taken down. Then Muhlenmeister had the ball.
Coming back in.
Down. Into the box.
Oh, my goodness.
Whoa.
Oh, goal. They cut out. Wow. Lucky that they cut out on the frame and it worked just in time.
Whoa. Sioux Falls up 1-0.
It's
honest. It was well earned, especially for the chances prior. So we mentioned Lehman had it, then Muhlenmeister had it, then Olschlager had it, then it gets back out. It gets recycled.
I'm gonna see if I can rewind it.
You can use the back. Here we go. Yep.
I got you.
Yep.
But here, the build up. So they just keep at it.
Lehman, then Muhlenmeister.
So they play on. First of all, it should have been a foul.
So some pressure there. Really nice pressure. I believe Haley Christensen. I could be wrong. Could be Olschlager too.
Scoops it up.
Nice ball in. Initial save, but then some chaos. I think Lehman finishes it. I think we can check Twitter.
It was a good save, but the thing we've been saying, it's just like there's clearly a tenacity with Sioux Falls. Like they're in the box, they're disrupting, and that was a follow-up, like well-deserved. Wow. Yeah, it's been tight. That's good for them to finally break through.
Wow, this is an awesome game.
Yeah. Well, if people remember, I have no idea why you would, except for the people of the teams, but last year, Sioux Falls City started their season playing Salvo, and it was the first game, which is so hard to have chemistry.
We were there, right?
Yeah, we were there, and they lost by like 1 or something. It was brutal, and they ended up not making the playoffs by like the skin of their teeth. So I mean, they're at least have a couple games under their belt, but yeah, and the Thunder are not going to go away. So
no, this is going to be a very tough game. Shout out to Joel with Sioux Falls City. I think I can assume that our buddy Joel is the one posting this update to Twitter. So Yui Fuji scored it across from Beck's store. And then that initial service was from Olschlager, who I thought might have been getting on the end of it. So Olschlager sends it in, and then an initial attempt from Beck's store, and then Yui Fuji finishes it. So Fuji plays at Southern Utah. She's from Osaka, Japan. Beck's store is a Minot State player who's originally from Switzerland, but Minot State. Shout out to NSIC. There is a ton of NSIC talent on this team and in the summer league up here. If you don't know the Division II NSIC, they're super fun. ambitious attempt. Keeper is there. So we mentioned, so Rebecca Storr from Minot, as we mentioned, she wants to go into marine biology. Shout out to her. That's very cool. And then that initial service, Olschlager is, actually, nice Minnesota tie-in, plays at Florida Gulf Coast, where Ali Kempinen is now an assistant coach. Multiple Florida Gulf Coast players. Taylor Thomas also plays down there now. So a fun sort of Minnesota, South Florida pipeline down there.
Lob City from 10 years ago for people, but I bet that's still why they get some applicants. So shout out.
Sure.
Their men's basketball team made the tournament like 10 years ago, like the Sweet 16 though. It was, yeah.
Was that wasn't the younger Patino, was it?
No, it was not.
So,
I'm not Richard's fine, but no, it wasn't it. Yeah, we're getting close into the end of the half. We are gonna have Matt. We're gonna have guests to start the second half too.
Yep. We'll take a true break right at halftime, and then maybe we'll come back a few minutes early. Molly Knobloch coming in, just such a fun player to root for St. Thomas. We mentioned there's several St. Thomas players, actually players on each team. So 5 minutes left in the half. MTA with a throw deep in their own territory.
We'll dig into, for people in the second half too, we'll dig at like a couple things. We'll try and like touch a little bit on WPSL is still a league that has their pro intention set for 2025, touch a bit on that. And we'll just try and give a little oversight in a bit more going on in the development of the leagues as they're going, because for people who don't know, I had forgotten this because we cover too many things. Like Dakota Fusion and the WPSL is a declared team for 2025. So it makes me intrigued. So yeah, we're definitely going to touch on that.
I mean, I just think these new pro leagues, the Super League starts this year. WPSL Pro specifically is aiming to be a place that could be sort of that stepping league. They could be a reserve spot for pros who need to get down and get some minutes. I think strategically it's a great place to aim for. Would love to see that league succeed. And obviously Sioux Falls City is one of the teams that announced their pro ambition with that as a landing spot. So it would just be a really fun thing to see. We want more pro soccer primarily. We love it, but we want more opportunities for players. And so love seeing a league like the WPSL stating that ambition, aiming for that, ambitious goal. And we'll see what shape it takes by the time it comes to fruition.
Yeah, at least, I mean, there has been every other pro league, like we've hyped. I mean, and because there's been a little more details of like who to latch on, like some teams and schedules coming up in terms of the Super League and the Canadian League that is called the Northern Super League. WPSL is also unique in the sense of like we have Sioux Falls City here locally. Their also intention, like Matt said, is not to compete to be a first division league. The Super League, I don't know if the USL Super League necessarily is competing in a way that's confrontational with the NWSL. They're doing something different at a first division level, but the WPSL is saying, well, there's a need for something that fills the gap. The USL and the men's side and other leagues have done this a lot, where it's you need to have pro steps in between. Here we have Sioux Falls coming through, but
I don't mind the attempt.
Yeah, like you said, if you're going to start a league in the competitive landscape we have, it makes sense to aim for that. And they've clearly focused on trying to get partnerships to be, with reserve squads and it's a place that 10 years ago, the men's game didn't have it settled, or even 15. I mean, certainly. And so like, it's a place of growth. So it's exciting for us. We like watching the growth underneath the glamorous top level. We like it.
Well, and that's the way you just said it is another way to think of it. 10 years from now, don't we all think there should be we think there should be a paid lower, like non-first division? Shouldn't there be multiple paid divisions like there are in Europe and everywhere else in the world on the men's side? And the answer is yes. And if there's going to be a paid league and a paid spot for players other than just the top tier, why not be the group that tries to make that happen? Nice attack from Sioux Falls again. Lulu Moreno with a dangerous ball, but just not quite there. Some runners still.
They did not clear it that well. It's oh wow. No.
Great job by Sioux Falls to just force MTA to make the right play.
I like being able to do the watch longs. You can express things as it goes, where it's like people who watch at the bar, like I like watching soccer because if I'm with you, if I'm watching my phone, I'll hear you react. And I'm like, well, when Matt and I called games for the NSIC, there would be a goal and I would react kind of just gutturally. And he's like, no, you should wait for me to do the announcement and then comment. I'm like, no, I know. I just reacted genuinely. I know
what I'm supposed to do.
I'm a fan of the game. Yeah. But yeah,
fandom just too authentic. Just
so shout out, yeah. Also, shout out to the WPSL for posting us into their page to do the watch long. We there is so much summer soccer; it's hard to cover all the leagues, and so hopefully over the course of the whole summer, we get all the best coverage we can for the teams. This is certainly helpful. So shout out to WPSL. I like that they have people doing. It's tough to know how to invest in things. I like that they did invest in having like people doing social media content, like on Insta. They just have it just draws you in a bit more because there's a lot of soccer. I scroll through a million things, so it's I like that WPL is doing that. We have the Thunder here with a free kick deep, really deep, 40 yards out, but they're sending people up.
I think Carlisle taking it there from about 40 yards out. Good ball. Into the box. Redirect. Paige Peltier, who else I think is the one who got on it, but just wide.
Good header.
To continue that point, I mean, you know, the WPSL tries to hire regional writers to like write about the different games. They have the games of the week like this. They do, you know, Nicole, who staffs there, has just always been great for us we can always ask a question. She'll share info. Sean, who's, you know, the head of the league, has come on, you know, year after year to try and update us on developments. I mean, just love leagues open to sharing that info, love the investment in staff, love the investment in all that stuff. And like we said, teams like Sioux Falls are the epitome of it. The ones who have a broadcast like this. The game day at that stadium was really fun. You know, there's a supporters group out there. Any summer league team, any college team that invests in making sure they can be covered and making sure fans can enjoy it deserves credit. Sioux Falls is maybe one of the very best in terms of that in the upper Midwest, in the WPSL Central. So and like you said, Mark, you know, so psyched to be able to bring this to the WPSL Central channel and all the fans up here. We specifically are dedicated to Minnesota, but that leads to bleeding when really cool teams like Sioux Falls exist right outside our border, or when our players play elsewhere. Call with another corner here.
One last chance, maybe.
To that far side. Campbell's there.
Nice good idea. Yeah, good spot. I mean, no, and we also end up all the Division II coverage we do bleeds into playoffs with the Plain States that kind of overlap with the opponents we see for the WPSL Northern. So yeah, lots of fun. And also it's amazing to see. I wanted to bring up before the half, but like someone like Paige Peltier, Paige does not play a tremendous amount at Notre Dame. So she's someone, you have these players who they get a tremendous opportunity, and also good on you for also being okay with just being on the team and not having to transfer to play. Like it can still be a positive experience. So I'm just impressed though, quite frankly, when someone like Paige, she gets spot minutes for Notre Dame. She doesn't get to play that much. She's a really highly touted player. And then in the summer, she murders it. I mean, she clearly scores, and it hasn't led her to say, you know what, I should, you know, or just, the balance of that for players must be really interesting, because it's obviously why some of them pick the summer opportunities they have. So,
All right. We will take a quick break for at least like maybe 5 minutes. We already got Molly Knobloch in the waiting room. She's waiting in the wings, ready to rip it up.
Give me 10. I got to rest my voice.
We'll do a quick 5. I'll come back with Molly maybe in like 5 or 10. And then we'll get going after halftime. We'll see you guys after.
I got back before Matt. Wow. Matt.
Wait. I realized when we're in the waiting room we cannot hear each other, so we just got to boldly go.
I did a thumbs up to Matt, and then I made my move. We are back.
I wasn't as worried about you. I was checking with Molly.
Well, I'm not going to put Molly in before she's
that's
ready.
What I mean. Molly is thumbs upping us, so we are bringing
she
her
is my
in.
system.
There we go. Molly Knobloch is here, central midfielder for the University of St. Thomas. Molly, we got tons of Toms in this game, so no one better than you to come in and bring some expertise. Molly, what's up? How you doing?
Good. How are you guys?
Good.
Matt, did you call them Toms?
Yeah.
Aren't they Tommies?
There's multiple. There's multiples.
I don't know. Molly, do you have a perspective on that? Are people Toms?
I normally hear Tommies, but I rolled with it. It sounded good.
I mean,
I don't know.
How are they not?
Oh
Toms?
no! Oh no! Oh no! Matt with the receipt. He had the scarf receipt right there. Holy crap! Wow, Molly, you and I'm sorry. Molly,
he's ready to go.
Molly is one though. Molly is one, and she agreed with me. So it doesn't matter what's on a scarf. She is a Tommy.
Very
She's
true.
a Tommy.
Very true.
Sorry to interrupt, but that had to be done.
Very true. By the way, this was a fantastic neighborhood pickup. I referenced earlier, I made a slight joke about soccer in the capital city. That is a reference to what the PA announcer says at St. Thomas soccer games. And I love that that's the announcement, because as someone who lives in St. Paul, it is actually awesome that I can just go down in the same city and cover St. Thomas. And listen, I found this soccer scarf at our neighborhood Goodwill in the capital city. This was a steal, baby.
Hasn't worn it though. He still has the tag on it.
Tags still on.
I thought you were going to say, as someone who lives in St. Paul, I was so excited for him to mention the capital city, because I live like.
Molly, I think the most you have been featured on Equal Time is just when we chatted with you when you were at a tryout I was covering. I think otherwise you haven't been on a full show, but I've been watching you, multiple season with the Toms. You're playing with Aurora 2 in the summer, so we've seen you there. You're like, if folks have somehow not watched Molly play, Molly is like a super high work rate, high energy, athletic central midfielder. Sometimes plays as like a holding six, sometimes plays as more of like a box to box 8. As that type of all around midfielder can find herself anywhere on the field, but it's just like a high effort, high energy, easy to cheer for player. Molly, you're playing in the summer league now. When once this game comes on, what does someone like you or players like you try to get out of summer league, like the WPSL?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's pretty cool because I have a lot of teammates and a lot of people I've played with, playing for Sioux Falls in the past and playing for MTA basically many years growing up. So it's pretty cool. But I think mainly for me, and I think also for like my teammates and all the other people out there, it's really just to like continue to maintain what you're at and push yourself to be even better. It's also just to like drop, like in college ball, it's more like you need to win. You want to win your league. You want to do this. You want to like, it's more focused on this. Of course, like our focus on Aurora is also to win our league and have a blast doing that. But it's more player like development wise, and we are not all players that play at the same college, but we're pushing each other. And so I think coming in the beginning to watch this game, it'll be really cool to just see them play, because I haven't seen them in a while. But also just overall, it's just supposed to be fun and like keep the love up, but also like something to keep you going.
Right.
Molly, how does that benefit like your, like, I can understand the transition, right? Because like people who've worked in jobs or been in places where it kind of dominates your life, getting to have a break would be so nice. For you as a player, because it's also with the added goal of you're spending this time. The main focus for most players is development. You want to win, right? But how does that benefit you, like in your mental health as an athlete? Like, how does it manifest? Does it help you in training because you're more free? Does it, like, how does that show?
Yeah. Well, mental health is a really big thing to me. It's been a big thing in all aspects in my life. it's really something that, especially coming into college, and looking at it in the soccer way, it's a really big part of soccer in the mental aspect, because
Yeah.
it's if you're not having it, it's gonna be a hard game.
Yeah.
But I think it's just something that's been super fun. It's like I'm pushing myself in a different way, and I find it as something like I love having structure, and so mentally, working out and playing with really is something that excites me.
Yeah.
And it really gets me out of the zone, and I love that. So
Yeah. Well, you mentioned too, and we can say it more directly than someone who's currently playing for a college program can say it. College soccer is like a grind. It is really hard. It is like it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of stress. Do I have the role I want to have? Like, is our team succeeding the level I want us to succeed? Is the coach rating me well in this? Are they rating me well in that? Do I wish I could do more of this? It's really, we cover so many college athletes, and it's just a really hard, stressful situation. And so, like you mentioned, at minimum, summer leagues like the WPSL are at minimum a change of pace. So just like a different scenery, a different place to play. And at maximum, it's a way to sort of recharge yourself, recharge that mental health while you're also experiencing sort of a different soccer environment. So you mentioned some teammates. We'll shout them all out. I should be able to get them all. McKenna Lehman, we said her name a bunch in the first half, is a St. Thomas mainstay. Olivia Rowe is on the MTA team. I don't believe is playing in this game, but is on the MTA team, a keeper for St. Thomas. And then Caballero, I'm pretty sure we saw her out there mixing it up in central midfield, someone you play next to from time to time as the teams are about to kick off. So Caballero and Lehman for sure we've seen out there. Talk about just what their games are and what they bring on the field.
yeah, I got like the pleasure of playing with McKenna my senior year on my club team, and so that was really cool coming like into college, having that connection, as well as we really connected well, and we just loved playing together. She is someone who has those quick little turns, and it's like, holy crap, she just turned like like, and it's just beautiful. So I think that's super cool to watch from her, and she just has like a high work rate as well, and like she'll get behind it and really help. Mainly for St. Thomas is more in a forward role, but it's been super fun because like the times I am playing higher up, either playing forward or playing like attacking mid, getting that connection with her is super cool. And then Soph is super cool because I've known Soph for a long time, but it's been really cool coming into playing on the same team as her, because when I was younger, I played on the team a year younger than her at MTA, and our brothers were really good friends. So I had known her for a while, but coming in, it's just her IQ, being in the midfield with her is super cool. She is just super smart, and it's like we click on that, and it's just really fun to play with her because there's things that you're like, I did not even see that, and it was super cheeky, and it's so fun to watch and like even play with her. So yeah.
It's so funny because you have the privilege in this game of no matter who wins, you get to call victory because there's St. Thomas players on both sides. But Caballero, the St. Thomas central midfield is so interesting too, because there's a bunch of you who are all capable of playing there. All of your games overlap a little, but you all have different styles, like you compared to a Cameron Rintoul, you compared to, Ellie Tempero, who's, now at times played center back, you compared to Sofia Caballero. It's all just sort of these different skill sets. I believe Haley Christensen, dangerous ball in, but goes all the way through. So it's an interesting group because I think for a team like St. Thomas that's been rotating a decent amount and sort of trying to find that lineup that sticks, Sheila is sort of known for rotating almost to a crazy degree, like the subbing and the rotating. For you, how do you balance stuff like that as sort of your role changes, or it might be different game to game? Like, how do you try and keep yourself in a good place mentally?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think plain and simple, I just love playing and I love my teammates. And so I just look at it as like, where can I help the most? And I trust Sheila on what she decides. And in anyway, soccer, so I love soccer. So just trying to use like my abilities in the best that I can in where I'm put, because I can't control that, and I
Right.
know my teammates can't either. But like, yes, there's going to be like ways that work best and ways that we like connect differently as players. Um, but I think overall we work really well like together, and just to continue building off that and not letting it get to your head too much, because it's just the game of soccer, and yes, it's a mental game, but um, not letting the move or like playing this position or moving that, because you're still getting time and you're still being able to like play to the best of your ability. So I
Yeah.
think looking at it in a different light.
Yeah. Well, wow, that mindset is like incredibly healthy. We need to take tips from you, of course. Sioux Falls been pressuring really hard at the start of the second half. We saw them in the first half, Mark, being really dangerous.
Yeah.
It seems like the quality run of play has just continued. I mean, both these teams are really bringing a lot.
They have an urgency that is really fun to watch, and they're also, I think, somewhat flexible in how they move the ball around. It's fun to watch when they attack, because you want to see that they're open to what opportunities come. Like, I can't say like they only drive in crosses from the side, they only play through the middle. They seem flexible. They're moving through again. That was a missed pass, but I would say they seem like they're feeling themselves right now, because they do seem like they're playing together. Absolutely.
Yeah, and MTA is a tough team to play against. I mean, like, MTA is about as loaded as a summer roster can be. You see them getting into the final third here, some danger, good defensive positioning by Sioux Falls to force a tough chance by Peltier, and that goes wide.
But also MTA, I mean, they have the chemistry too, because like Sioux Falls is building on this now, but you know, the Thunder and Salvo and the other Metro clubs who have players who stick together, they have years and years of built-on experience. And so Sioux Falls City has some core of some locally based players, not like some cluster who's played forever. So year over year, that does matter. And you're seeing like teams like Aurora, like they're suffering from that this year, where when you the victim of success, because if you do well, Sioux Falls City running through, let's see, I don't know what they can make out of this.
Ooh, nice
she went for a far post high angle.
Looked like Haley Christensen there on the attack.
But when you're successful too, then you lose players as well, because they go pro. So yeah, I did want to ask you, Molly, you know, you're someone who has been accomplished. Now you're playing at St. Thomas. And I wonder for you, as someone who is listed as someone in our end of the year D1 roundup on Equal Time, as one of the players who started every game, started every game they played in, what did that type of recognition do, you know, to your psyche? How did you kind of balance that out to not get overhyped? And I'm sure, of course, you were aware of it before right now, but how did you kind of like keep your progress going, even though you were so recognized in my list of people who started every game they ever played in?
Yeah. How did you handle that Equal Time hype, Molly, that I'm sure all your relatives were talking to you about, teammates were talking to you about, the press, everybody?
No, yeah. I was super grateful to get the chance to start every game. And yes, I love the hype. You guys are awesome. But I think I've continued to push, like each game's a new game and it's asking a different thing. So I think after my freshman year was hard for me, like not playing as much as I wanted to, but really going into that like spring season, fall, freshman year, I really just like changed my mindset and was like, I'm going for this. This is mine. This is mine to play. Like, I want to be here. I want to play. And so it was really just like changing my mindset and taking like each game, each day, one by one, just pushing myself. Something my brother always told me was just like, play every minute like it's your last. So just taking each day and being like, I'm grateful that I'm able to be here today.
Yeah. We watched you. We were watching the Aurora 2 game, the most recent one, seen a little bit of you from our coverage on Equal Time. You were really holding it down as like kind of a classic six, or at least that's what you were playing in the games we were watching. Who are your favorite players? Like, do you have midfielders that you model or like envy and try to match skills from, or do you just kind of want to go your own way? Who are your favorite players to kind of watch?
Yeah. When I was younger, I used to watch like Sergio Busquets a lot.
Yeah.
Just because like it was mainly because one of my coaches recommended, because I was playing the six and he was a really good six.
Yeah.
So watching him a lot. But for the most, it was just like getting out there and playing. Like I loved like playing with guys growing up. Just like pushing myself in different ways. There's not really anyone that I like specifically watch. I like watching games like this and just being like, oh, that was really good, or oh,
Yeah.
this is really good.
Yeah.
So
Oh, wow.
And I've found that I do that with a lot of sports now. I'm just like, if I don't have a team I'm rooting for, I'm just like, who's playing better? So
Yeah. Just to enjoy it, just to like take it in. And I don't know if I've ever asked you this, Molly, and certainly not on a live stream where you have to answer and it's being recorded. Do you have any ambitions to keep playing after college? Like, do you sort of know already, as you're sort of a little deeper into your college career, like for sure what you want to do after? Do you know you want to keep playing? Do you know you're sort of fine closing that book, or maybe only playing in summers? Or do you have that sort of set in your mind?
Yeah, I don't really have anything set right now in my mind. I mean, I'm open to it. I love soccer. I love playing the game, and I know it would be really hard to let go. So that's not really something that's too pressing on my mind right now, because I'm not really sure what I want to do. I have like ideas of what I want to do for my career, but I'm still not sure with that.
Yeah.
So I think I'm taking it like day by day, just trying to like love the game and love where I'm at and see what I want in the future, and not try to plan too far ahead.
Yeah. Let's pretend, as Mark pulls up the game again. Sorry, we lost the stream. That let's.
I was trying to add something to the stream and I subtracted, so forgive me.
Right. Let's pray there's not a goal happening right now. And so Molly, let's throw a scenario your way. I get hired tomorrow to be a GM of a USL Super League team, or no, I get hired tomorrow to start a WPSL pro team in like northern Minnesota or somewhere. It's a pro team based in the US, and I'm like, listen, ooh, some danger from Sioux Falls. Ooh, off the post. Oh my gosh. The chaos, baby. Wow. Another really good chance from Sioux Falls right off the post. And we got the stream up in time. Listen, we didn't even miss a real chance. Look at that.
What a good job I did.
So Molly, you mentioned, not for sure knowing what you want to do. So we're throwing a scenario at you to help you do some decision making. I win the Mega Millions. I start a WPSL pro team in 2025 or 2026, whatever. And I say to you, listen, we'd love to have you in, but I'm already stacked at holding mid. I'm stacked in central midfield. At the next level, I view you for whatever reason as like a born right back who can scale her game, or I want you to play somewhere else.
Baby. Let her
where on the field would you want that offer to come if you can't play where you play and somehow your game scales at the next level, a different position? Where do you think you'd want to suit up?
That's a great question. It's also a very hard one, because I mean, I played a little bit of center back this spring and a little bit of forward, so I got a little bit of both. I definitely would want to stay at least somewhere in that central line.
Okay.
That's because that's what I've been playing, and that's what I'm more used to. And the sides are a little bit harder for me because I'm used to having both sides to me and not having you have to go in.
That's so funny. Wow. Yeah.
I was gonna say, because I'm someone that sometimes views like a good rangy holding midfielder. To me, the skill set translates well to like an outside back type thing. Like, I think you're someone who's really gritty, willing to be physical, works your butt off in defense, but also you, I think, are like pretty pacey compared to like a sitting holding mid. Like, I think you have decent top end speed, like decent agility compared to someone who sometimes is like a bruiser in holding mid. So I actually think of you as someone who could like hang it outside back. But are you like, have you ever had to play like out on the wings and stuff, or because you've always maybe been a really good player in your team, have you always been central?
I mean, when I was younger, I was more of like a outside midfielder when I was way younger.
Yeah.
And then I had one coach that was like, I want to try you in the middle.
Yeah.
And then I haven't gone back since. But when I was younger, I definitely did. And I did enjoy it a lot.
Yeah.
I think it would just be a big mental switch, but
Yeah.
I mean, I could do it. I
Well,
mean,
were
if you're making this team,
exactly. This well, and if my soccer analysis can be trusted, which it can't. But you also did you grow up playing in the MTA system where I know it's sort of a staple with a lot of their teams, where sort of the default system, at least for some of the teams I've heard, is sort of that 3-5-2, where it's like the three center backs and then the outside mids are kind of wing backs? Or were you playing a different formation, growing up, like in your teens?
that's jogging my memory. We
That was
definitely
so long ago, Matt.
We did play a 3-5-2 sometimes, but
Okay.
my team was more traditionally like 4-4-2. We
Okay.
played a 4-4-2 a decent amount.
Okay. Gotcha.
Or like a 4-3-3, but it kind of depended on like more of like what we had on the wings and like how we were going to use them. So.
Yeah, totally.
Molly, talk about playing on Rochester with Ada Kardovich. She was like fun to have on our show. She's a little older than some of the players, but also like having the experience of like being someone with Serbian descent, being in Germany, and then living in Omaha. I mean, gosh, what do you take from living in Omaha? But I mean, talk about her and some of your teammates on Rochester, because you're getting kind of a new experience with all these new people.
You're mixing up your Mollies, baby. She hasn't got to play with Ada. Although I will say,
I do know her.
Do you? Okay. How do you? Yeah. Talk about your connection to Ada.
My
I know. I was so confused when you were talking.
What's your? Well, wait. What is your connection to Ada then? Because I don't think you would have.
I heard you say Anna. I know Anna.
No, Ada. Oh, okay, gotcha.
I saw your video with Ada.
Yeah.
I guess from equal time, I have a relationship.
Ooh, and Sioux Falls extends their lead. Wow.
By the way, they've been relentless. They had while we were talking to Molly, the Molly I mixed up. Sioux Falls had 3 chances right over the bar. They have been just going at the Thunder.
And they are going to solidify their position at the top of the table in the WPLSL Central in the Northern Conference. At least if this game continues to go the way they are, they doubled their lead to 2-0.
Shout out to the 605. I know I have that right. That's the area code for South Dakota. So shout out to the 605. Even though I did Molly dirty. Apologies, Molly.
This is why you guys, Mark knows so much stuff that I don't know about the game, but I like recognizing.
I apologize.
But yeah, true. He does cover like 200 players across the country. But recognizing players by face is more of a Matt thing. And
I wasn't in my face. Yeah, sorry. I just Molly'd. I'm sorry. I apologize, Molly.
Now we're gonna have to give Molly like some equal time gear. She's earned it. She's earned it after this. Well,
oh boy.
Molly, coming into this fall, the St. Thomas squad is just stacked with tons of Minnesotans, who are coming in. You have a really good talent pool, but just, there's Summit League is competitive. It's really tough to sort of climb those standings. What are some things you all have been focusing on, like in this last spring you just wrapped up, to try and prepare for like making that jump in the Summit League?
Yeah, we were really working on building together, and we were trying some different formations and just really going into each game and just fighting for it, and like really showing that we were there and like that we want to like make a presence and make a difference. And I think we have it, and I think we just got to continue to build on it.
Yeah. And you mentioned when we were asking you erroneously about people you've played with, we've asked you about St. Thomas players on here, but I'm sure there's other players on here that you have suited up either against or with. Who are some other players like for MTA or maybe for Sioux Falls who you for sure have sort of remember battling or you've battled alongside?
Yeah, it's kind of hard for me to see the game.
I'll burn through some names for you.
Okay.
Well, did you ever play with Rylan Rintoul, the younger Rintoul sister?
No, I did not.
This is you play alongside Cameron, the older Rintoul sister. We have Dara Adringa might be too old for you. Maddie Poor might be too old for you.
I did play with Maddie Poor for a little bit.
Did you? Okay, also at MTA, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But for you growing up with so many of these players, like even when you're playing in the Summit League, what's it like for you to just randomly have like, oh yeah, I played with her and when I was 17 and blah blah blah. Like I'm sure you're every single week you're suiting up against like a random former teammate or former opponent.
Oh yeah, for sure. I feel like most or almost all of the Summit League teams have at least one Minnesotan on the team.
Yeah.
And I find it like kind of cool. It also is like then you're like, oh, I know someone on this team, and you're like, I play with them. And either if that's a good or bad thing, like you're scared or like, oh my gosh, I've defended her before, I can do it again, that kind of thing. So from both ways, but
you just
I find it cool.
Find a way to like invent a mental edge that you have. Yeah.
You got to give the scout. You got to give the scout Molly. Yeah. And by the way, Treeville, I was mixed. I watched Molly the day before I watched Rochester FC. So I'm sorry, but this week has been a lot.
It's a game mix up that occurred.
Molly, you were solid in that Aurora 2 game. I watched you play holding. I just mixed up what team it was. I'm sorry.
All good.
I love this so much. I only love it so much because it's happening live. That's the best part. So we had the goal scorer for Sioux Falls was Mia Muhlenmeister, who has been, as the Sioux Falls Twitter points out, was the WPSL Central Player of the Week this week.
Yeah.
And she continues her hot streak. She is from beautiful, sunny Mitchell, South Dakota. She's heading to Utah State next fall. And Minnesota summer soccer fans are very familiar with Utah State because somehow, some way, Utah State has developed a pipeline into Minnesota with Addie Wickers, Kelsey Kafusi, Tess Wirtz, Kaylee Chambers. We are Kylie Olson last year. We are drunk on Utah State players in Minnesota somehow. So Mia is heading there in the fall for her college career, which, by the way, even more impressive, I think she hasn't started college yet, and she is carving up the WPSL Central, which is really, really cool. MTA with another chance here, working across. Dangerous ball, but just a little wide. 65th minute. This is, I mean, at this point in games, what's your mentality, Molly, as someone who, you are someone who's fit, who can go 90. If you're a player who's playing the whole game, this type of scoreline, this type of minute, what goes through your head if you're on a team like MTA where like you have to battle back and somehow claw back to get a road draw? What goes through your head at this point in the game?
I think it's really just like trying to get your intensity and your team's intensity up. For me, it's like trying to be more vocal, and when I'm more vocal, it like helps my team, but also it helps me like. Then I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. I got to do it. It pushes me. And I think that's a big part, especially when you're down and trying to come back. And just also taking a second and just if you mess up, just doing what's next and letting go of any mistakes in that moment.
Well, because Sioux Falls, I think it's fair to say, has had a little bit better of the run of play. They're up 2-0. They've had kind of the control of the game. So like you said, how do you balance feeling like you need to do more with, forcing the issue and making a mistake? How do you balance that of I need to lock in, I need to be more vocal, but then the risk of sort of overdoing something or overplaying? That's what I'm always so curious about when sort of a run of play is locked in and you're trying to change it. How do you balance not just being chaotic versus trying to do more?
Yeah, I think it's really on the day-to-day basis and kind of how the game has been going. There's those games where you're really in it, but you're just losing because it was unlucky chances.
Yeah.
Or there's the games where it's just really hard fight and they're a really good team.
Yeah.
And I think both these teams are really good. So I think it's just really taking in the pushing it, and some games go down to who wants it the most. And
I
think from what I've been watching, both teams have been working really hard. So
yeah, this is, I mean, honestly, and you can probably speak to this, even better than us. Some of these games happen on fields that are really narrow. You all had a game that was on an insanely narrow field that Mark and I covered.
This one is,
that was maybe that game honestly was maybe 55 yards wide, like maybe even less.
60 at the very, very most.
Which is crazy. This is on a full field, plenty of width, plenty of length. But like you said, like how the game happens is different every week. You know, how the run of play happens. These teams have been using the width. They've been finding passing angles. You know, Paige Kalal just slots that ball across. On the run of play in this game has been really high quality. I mean, you don't see that all the time, no matter what league or conference or whatever you're watching. And I think this has been like actually solid run of play.
That was great. The Thunder player just looking right up at the ref, being like, "Are you gonna do something about?" Like, it felt bad to me. Yeah.
Molly, how do you grapple with that kind of stuff with the official? Where like, I know in your recent game we had some like maybe iffy calls where you ended up getting a couple, but how do you grapple with that as someone who is a physical player? You are an active player, like you are an aggressive player. How do you grapple with sort of feeling out how the official is calling a game, and then once you learn how an official is calling a game, trying to adapt to that precise level of that official?
Yeah, for me, it's really hard to change the way I play, especially with those tackles, like being strong and coming in.
Yep.
And sometimes they're not the best tackle, and sometimes they're really good. Just, I think it's really just in those first few minutes, like controlling the game and just like seeing how different plays and different calls happen, and just being able to be like, okay, well, don't do that because that's going to be bad. But
sounds like the right process. Yeah.
But you talking about like it's hard to adjust your game on the fly like that is such a good point too, because you as an aggressive player, it is sort of a known thing that like trying to not be the aggressor can be just as risky as being the aggressor. You know, trying to pull yourself back might get you hurt. It might be whatever. And so it's kind of like, it's a delicate thing to try and adjust that game, because you want to play the game that you have built for yourself. You know, it's tough. Sioux Falls again with a chance out there. Just a couple plays ago, we saw, a nice dangerous ball.
Woo!
Header across.
I mean, people do not, and certainly we're not going to track expected goals on these games, but the expected goals for Sioux Falls would be even more than two. It would be more than a 2-goal difference. By the way, I did on my phone. The reason we lost the video, I was trying to look on a separate window to look at the other WPSL games. I want to respect the Central region. But so I pulled up on my phone, Salvo playing Mankato, still 0-0, 31st minute. I'm sure that'll be a tough game. Good for Mankato. If they get a draw at Salvo, that is perfectly solid for them. But yeah, we'll see how the other games are going too.
Just super, super tight standings. Sioux Falls with an ambitious chance here ends up being wide. Yeah, we mentioned, Sioux Falls currently at the top. Looks like they will lock that in. Salvo right behind them. MTA right behind them, but of course dropping points on the road in this one. Mankato, if they could pull it off, would work themselves into that top 3 too against Salvo up at Northwestern in Roseville. So another one. Molly, we have kept you super, super long, definitely longer than I said we would keep you on. So appreciate you coming on. If folks have not watched Molly before, you can see her starring for Aurora 2. They play their games at Concordia right in St. Paul. You can see her this fall, a second location in the capital city, of course, at St. Thomas, just a couple miles away. So find Molly online, follow her at St. Thomas and for Aurora 2. Thanks so much for joining us, Molly.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
Thank you, Molly. Yeah, maybe someday for Rochester FC as well, but we'll have to, I was gonna say to Matt today, we were planning this. We don't do so many watch alongs all the time, and I was like, it's tough to keep the team separate when you do so many. When we did the Northern Sun, which of course have a lot of players in these games, that was the only equivalent of like so many games in so many days. It's a lot of fun though. This game has been unbelievable. Sioux Falls City has been relentless. Like it just shows intent. I don't know how to say it, except there's something about, I don't know if it's the player's spirit or the coach before, there's something about the way they're attacking.
It's just an incredibly impressive performance. I mean, they are absolutely working like crazy. And they are just they're playing super, super well. It's not just effort, it's they're executing. It's the type of locked in mentality that can be so, so fun to watch. And I mean, they're just playing together. They're playing super well, and they're battling what is essentially, by my eye, close to a full strength MTA squad. MTA in the attack now, into the box. Ooh, really dangerous chance, but Campbell's there.
Yeah, another tough one. But no, it is for Sioux Falls. I mean, we cover them a lot, obviously, because they are ambitious and they do a lot of work to make themselves visible. Let's watch this attack. Wow, what an open space for Sioux Falls.
Layman out on the run. Ooh,
she might have been just offsides too.
I think was trying to find Moreno there, just not quite able to.
Ooh, but no, Sioux Falls City, honestly, one of the more prominent squads to be the intent signing for WPSL Pro. Their other teams are Oklahoma City FC, which is a real hotbed for WPSL. That's where it's like headquartered, and Austin Rise, the Town, which is in Oakland. Their men's team is joining the MLS Next Pro. So it's a bit of the soccer wars thing going on in Oakland. We could talk a little more about that. South Star FC is in the Dallas suburbs. And then Georgia Impact joined. AC Houston Sur. I don't know the background of what SUR Sur. Was the 7th team. The 8th team with a letter of intent for 2026 was Dakota Fusion, which caught us by surprise, to be honest. So I will say this about them, Sioux Falls. Yeah, now it's getting a bit broken up, but Sioux Falls City getting another chance, maybe a deep one. Trying to find their opportunity.
Olschlager on the run, just quite able to keep it in.
Outruns the opportunity. But no, for Dakota Fusion, for people who don't watch, they play at Moorhead High School. NDSU soccer does play at the old Bison Stadium, and so that might be a play. I would think Fargo, to be honest, would be a better place if they are going to launch the pro space, and that's a nice stadium, but it's a league that still has some details to come, but it's exciting. Exciting to see the opportunities coming, and like we said, I think appropriately finding the markets that work for what they're wanting to do. So.
Yeah, and I mean, we love leagues and teams that have ambition. Does every single team that signed the LOI 100% mean that they're going to be wildly successful in the league? Like, no, of course not. That's not true in any pro sports league, but love a league going for it, love teams going for it. And to have more pro opportunities for players is just, it should be part of the goal. It should be part of the goal for leagues, for teams. There's, for us in Minnesota, for example, there are always women playing pro soccer, but almost entirely they are overseas. They are in Europe. They are in leagues that are not visible, that might not have streams and broadcasts, that might not have available stats. Maybe these leagues have goals, maybe they have goal counts. So for example, today's signing, Jenny Vetter, who's a WPSL veteran, played for Mankato multiple seasons, is a
Mankato United SC. Shout out to Mankato United SC in the WPSL.
She is a legend from Mankato, played for Mankato United as a youth rank, played for Mankato State, played for Mankato United WPSL, and is now signing in the pros in the US. All we know of her in Portugal was that she scored 9 goals, but they don't have the minute counts. They don't have, regular coverage from the press. And so these domestic pro leagues are just a huge opportunity. McKenna Lehman now.
Ooh, Sioux Falls.
Good defense there.
Relentless. But no, and shout out to Jenny Vetter, who went to Mankato East. I double checked it. I did her dirty once on that with the West reference. I'm sure that's a heated rival. But no, for WPSL Pro, by the way, you said intention as we watch Sioux Falls set up. Aim is to have 10 teams by 2025, more than 24 by 2030. So, and maybe some soccer activity beginning as early as this year. That's reported from the Striker for people who watch it. That's where I got that. But we'll see.
In Texas, a long time soccer publication.
Really solid spot. So Sioux Falls City here taking it in.
Nice clearance.
Thunder defender. Yeah. They get the header. Yeah.
Couple offside attackers for Sioux Falls.
Yeah, I'd be very curious to know. I don't know if the possession is skewed so far to Sioux Falls City, but the amount of time in the final third must be vastly skewed to Sioux Falls City. So credit to them. They're owning their home space right now.
Even if we would have seen a score line like this, there's no way this exact run of play is what I would
Yeah.
have predicted.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have been shocked if, like I said, you wouldn't be shocked if you saw this score line because both these teams are really quality squads.
Yeah.
But the way Sioux Falls has done it is
Mhm.
just very impressive,
Mhm.
not just for them, but for, you know, the summer league in general. Summer leagues are really difficult. You have to stand up a team with almost no
Yeah.
training time. You have to stand up a team with players from multiple places, multiple spots. You know, you look at a team like Sioux Falls, player from Colombia internationally, California, Netherlands, South Dakota, Ontario and Canada, Sioux Falls, Pennsylvania, Germany, Texas, Ohio, Brazil.
Yeah.
You look at MTA coming from all these different colleges I listed at the start of the match, and they have to come together and find a way
Yeah.
to build a system. And so seeing a team play this well is just really, really impressive. And MTA has played really well too, to be honest. It's just that
Yes.
Sioux Falls has played so unbelievably.
Yeah, they've found their moments and they've just been relentless. No, MTA will never. Yeah, it's not going to be a blowout ever, but it is something to see too for like the Sioux Falls team. They're like Aurora in the sense that they are not a team atop a youth academy, and so
Right.
they don't have some built-in chemistry, and so even just the core they return builds year over year. So maybe that's building as well as the talent.
Yep.
But we'll see how Sioux Falls City comes in, or MTA comes in now to
Yeah,
see if they can get through.
Page call over the ball, low driven free kick.
Ooh.
Don't mind that sort of variety. Tries to find Paige Peltier on the run.
Yeah.
Mark earlier in the game talked about Paige Peltier as sort of a standout example of someone who's always been incredibly highly touted, but we haven't got to see her a ton in college. She's going to go do her 5th year at Boston College, a really, high quality team out east after spending 4 years with Notre Dame. Really excited to see a player like her this fall. Because like Mark said, we haven't been able to see her play a ton of minutes in college. Where you have been able to see her play is in the WPSL and in the summer. And that's part of the real value of a league like this. Another corner for MTA. Paige Call over there to take it again.
It's been her escape the way like players who get international duty, and like if people watch here we go, Thunder going in.
Nice ball.
Covered,
Ooh.
but not. That was
really nice
catch,
really nice header, but just a yard or so wide.
For people who follow the men's game, it's like James Ramirez. Also, it's like Freddie Adu, to be honest, where it's like never catch on to the league. He can go into a camp though and get it this short season and burn it up. And so also, like I said, I mean, no shade, credit to Paige for just being able to hang out at Notre Dame and also be a good team member, or at least, So
well, and another really cool thing about these summer leagues like the WPSL is, nowhere else in any other league setting are the Dakotas getting the representation as they do from Sioux Falls and Dakota Fusion. You look at a set of players on Sioux Falls like all the Sioux Falls natives themselves. So Ellie Schock, Cassidy Jennings, Kira Harmon from Rapid City, Haley Christensen from Sioux Falls, Taylor Thomas from Sioux Falls. But you also have all these kids who play college ball in the Dakotas. So Mo Malone, who's a standout in NSIC, Allie Olson, who's a standout for Mary, Tyrese Zacher, who's from Brandon, South Dakota and plays for NDSU. It's just, Mia Bosch, who plays for SDSU. Like this is a program that is giving representation and availability to players in the Dakotas. And that's just so rad. Players shouldn't have to only be at the biggest clubs in like California or wherever to have access to the game. And so love that the WPSL provides that access. Love that Sioux Falls City has so many kids from the Dakotas that they're giving a chance to.
They're definitely doing the Mighty Ducks too. They have the full mix. That Aurora has moved past that. The ratio's not tight on that, but Sioux Falls City absolutely is doing a Mighty Ducks too, whatever the equivalent for South Dakota would be. Yeah.
By the way, while we're doing equal time geography, 2 players for Sioux Falls are from Placentia, California. Mo Malone, who I mentioned, plays at Mary. She's from Placentia. And then Jordan Tenpass, who Mark mentioned earlier, who plays for Washburn, which is another sort of standout college program we always see in the playoffs.
We had Jordan on equal time, by the way, we did a big Sioux Falls City kickoff, and today we're on there.
And also from Placentia. So if any Placentia locals, Maley Van Meteren plays for South Dakota and is from Chancellor, South Dakota. Forgot
Go Coyotes, yeah, go Coyotes. I love it. No, it's fun for people who want to follow WPSL and some on the ground content too. Just so you know, I'll be in Sioux Falls on June 15th to cover their game. So we'll try to get a little more on the site type of coverage, talk to people at the game, and we went there last year. It was a lot of fun. It was great to get some good game day atmosphere between Sioux Falls City and Mankato. Probably the best game day situations in terms of like selling tickets, having fans, and to be honest, all the games are a good watch because there's always really good. You can get right up to the players, right up to the game. It's fun to watch WPSL up here. And Northern Comp. Oh my gosh! Huge by Campbell Fisher to get that save.
Wowza!
And
Mark mentioned earlier.
Let's rewind that.
Sure.
But yeah.
Huge free kick from MTA. And then a little bit of a chance.
Around.
Ooh, what a hit.
Really? That was a turnaround. That was a turnaround without knowing where the goal was, but she knew how to take the shot.
You guys, Paige Kalal is ridiculous. If you haven't like learn about her through the WPSL and follow her with the Gophers, she is just awesome.
Amazing.
And Mark mentioned the Mankato and Salvo matchup just a few miles away from us. They actually do have a stream up and running. We'll link to that on our social once we're wrapped. They are approaching halftime 0-0 up there still, as Mark mentioned. Mankato is in white, Salvo in orange for when you tune in after this one.
Big for Mankato, by the way. I mean, like they're a competitive team. In the past, they even, I think, maybe tied for a title a few years ago. Apologies for not having that pulled up. But they last year had a rougher time having younger players integrated. So to be hosting Salvo, which arguably between the Thunder and Salvo, the most on paper talent of teams in Minnesota. So holding their own, very solid for Mankato. So good on them as it goes right now. Yeah, we could mention too to people who are in the region that one, like we said, the stability of the league of WPSL. There is one team that's kind of provisionally joining this year, Sioux City Soul. So not to be confused with Sioux Falls City, Sioux City Soul in Iowa, joining to kind of fill that gap. There's more and more teams coming up in Omaha and Nebraska and kind of like the Plains states. Very cool to see them kind of plug that. We don't know where they would be aligned in the WPSL, but they're playing a lot of friendlies against our local teams. And so cool for them to integrate. Cool to see how all the different sizes of communities can join the soccer community. Oh,
chance, but it's just wide for Sioux Falls. Yeah, I think, and it shows the progression and the growth of the WPSL. You know, when I started covering the WPSL, you know, a handful of years ago, Minnesota teams used to play more of sort of a broad regional schedule, and that required a lot of travel. It was very resource intensive. The WPSL has sort of intentionally tried to create a less rigorous, you know, demanding travel. So now all these teams in the Northern Conference are largely able to do day of travel, which just sort of reduces the demands on the players, reduces the demands on the clubs. And so you see that advantage. I think back when I was covering it, maybe Iowa didn't have any clubs. And then, you know, I think the Raptors a couple of years came in, and now you have Sioux City, like you mentioned. And so just a cool progression in the upper Midwest and really across the country. You know, sometimes we hear people talk about like so many teams, and that diluting the talent pool. I think the opposite can also be true. You just have more opportunity. You have different types of opportunity. And so I think all of these things can be viewed, you know, in a positive light if players are getting a good opportunity. And so good to give folks a chance.
Yeah, it's about teams and leagues as Thunder are still Cool. The Thunder have not had that many time. Like there have been saves by Campbell Fisher of Sioux Falls City,
Yep.
but there have been not that many dangerous chances.
Well, the last one that we talked about from Paige Callell, the turnaround shot, like volley out of the air, was almost certainly their best chance. Corner kick from Paige here. Driven in. Ooh, cleared over. Oh, still in play. I believe that's Taylor Thomas trying to clear. Ooh, a foul.
What are they gonna call?
Or a possible. Oh, they won't
That's
whistle it.
Kick. Yeah, they don't want any part of it.
It might have been just outside the box too, and it's one that could go either way.
The ball also might have been. It was almost
might have been out.
Bounds, yeah, but yeah. Mm-hmm. No, but you, in terms of you saying no, like leagues and teams, I mean, it's about them finding their place because the United States is so big. So to build the infrastructure, there has to be people that fill the different roles because, you see it trying to have teams just in New York and LA and everything else doesn't work out. So you have to because you can't gain traction against the magnitude of all the other sports. So finding the markets that work are so important, especially if you're trying to make, like a D3 pro league and harness the amateur level. So you see teams like in small cities thrive in these type of leagues.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just fun to see different programs, how they set up, what they prioritize. Obviously, we as folks who cover the game love teams that provide a quality stream. We love teams that post updates on social, love teams that post their rosters. Those are our biases. But obviously the training environment, we don't always know how high quality that is, how high quality the soccer is when we're not watching it. So there's just so many things that go into it. And it's just fun when we're able to watch a game like this, where two squads really put a quality game together. Paige Call there trying to battle. Oh, excuse me. No, I believe that was Caballero or a different central midfielder. MTA working downhill.
This will be a big result for Sioux Falls City. They hold this out. I have to look at. I was trying to pull it up. Sometimes it's difficult. I have to look at my own archive, but to see if they. I don't believe they have beaten MTA. They may have tied them. So I think this would be a first.
Yeah, I mean, if folks somehow are watching this and are not like Minnesota based or upper Midwest based, MTA is sort of like, the big dog on the block. They are maybe the most resourced club in Minnesota or the Dakotas, maybe the shiniest.
The most historically recognized as a brand and as in addition to being a productive and successful club. Yeah.
Yeah. They send players to high level programs or Mark's sort of phrasing. You see, they have a chance here again. Peltier with it.
They also, oh my goodness.
Chance in.
Ooh. But
Mark's phrasing that he sometimes uses is if you created a transfer market for all the players at MTA, like, the on paper quote unquote value or,
They and Salvo, they would have the most probably transfer value. Yeah. And and they get to, it says it for people who follow soccer in Minnesota, they're the namesake and get to call themselves Minnesota Thunder, which is like they do. It says MTA on the indicator, but like they brand themselves as they're the only team that gets to be called the Minnesota Thunder, which for people who, it's a cool
it was started by Lagos and, the sort of the big time brand in Minnesota, but just we've said it so many times, but we'll keep saying it only because it is so true. Just a really, really high quality game. Can't say enough about. Thank you so much to folks who are tuning in. Obviously, we're able to pull stuff like this off thanks to Pentz Homes and Modist Brewing and our patrons, but also really appreciate WPSL being game to amplify this stream. Thanks to Sioux Falls for being game to say throw it out there for the fans. You see Sioux Falls in victory
holding it
formation.
Down, professional, getting veteran status.
You
there
do
in the
not
corner.
always see that in summer league games.
For people wanting to watch these games more on Sunday, like we said, so there's other games. Salvo hosting Dakota Fusion. St. Croix Legacy hosts Minnesota Thunder at 4 p.m. on Sunday, June 9th. Manitou hosts Sioux Falls City at 7 p.m. That's at White Bear Lake High School. And Sunday the 9th also, Rochester FC hosts Maplebrook Fury at 7 p.m. So tune in. There's games twice a week. We do our best to follow it. I'm going to give a last shout out that I forgot till now to Lights Football. I follow them because they do written recaps of WPSL work. And so the WPSL site itself is very helpful for this. But in addition, if you're local, Lights Football does write-ups, they do game recaps. And so I can't watch every game. It's very hard. And so they're very helpful as we watch here, by the way, Sioux Falls City, maybe the biggest win, the biggest regular season win probably of their history. I feel comfortable saying.
Big win. And last a couple days back, Salvo got the 1-0 win over the Thunder to put them in a competitive position. This, I think, is maybe an even bigger result. Sioux Falls City maintains their position on top of the Northern Conference within WPSL Central. Just an incredibly impressive performance. I can't remember a Summer League performance as impressive as this when you think of all the context involved. As Mark mentioned, Lights Football do a fantastic job. Find them. Find us at Equal Time. As always, let us know if there's stuff you'd like us to cover. Teams, let us know if you want us to come cover you or have an idea. Thanks so much to the WPSL. Thanks so much to Sioux Falls City. Great game by Sioux Falls City and Minnesota Thunder. Thanks to Molly Knobloch, Elizabeth Overberg, and Jelena Zbilic, some Minnesota Upper Midwest women's soccer all-stars who joined us.
Yeah. Molly plays for Aurora too, Matt. I don't know if you know that. I learned that today. Thank you guys for joining. This was a lot of fun. We'll see you soon.